their channel. Right now with YouTube creators is because the behind the scenes look I give people when I interview content creators and people who are already watching on the internet on YouTube. So I think that it is definitely possible if you're taking away from your schedule and if you're losing the authenticity of your channel. Again, if you're a vlogger or a comedian or something like that and you're making your videos feel more like a movie or a TV show, I think the allure of actually being a vlogger and people when they go to watch vlogging channels, the real benefit and the real actual upside of doing a vlogging channel is that authenticity, is that transparency behind the scenes closed doors. Now, if you look at someone like Roman Atwood, his videos are very well edited, but really, realistically, it's not like a TV show. It's, you can tell, he's got the camera, he's holding the camera, he's got the vlogging camera. So again, I think there is a good balance, but I do believe it is possible to edit. Thank you again, Oliver. Next question comes from Builder Guy 21. He says, is it possible that you could help me share your social media sharing practices? What I'm really curious about is when I upload a video, should I share it on all of my social platforms the same day, or should I wait and kind of stagger the release through different media outlets like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, things like that? So I'm going to walk you through what I do, Builder Guy, and then you take that with a grain of salt and kind of decide what you want to do. So immediately upon uploading a video onto YouTube, within the first 30 seconds, as soon as it's uploaded, I use the TubeBuddy tool that allows me to automatically upload to Facebook. So the same day, same hour that it goes live on Facebook, boom, I'm uploading it directly to Facebook. Now, a lot of people say it's beneficial to stagger your release. So upload on YouTube on Monday, upload on Facebook on Tuesday. Now, I think that a lot of that's going to depend on the type of content you create. Like for me, educational content, there's really no benefit for the whole drip feed of, Monday I'm doing this platform, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. I think for me, it's more beneficial to upload it all in one day. So what I do is I do the Facebook there. I kind of reformat the title a little bit. I use the same thumbnail. I go in and edit my description a little bit because the way that video descriptions look on Facebook are a little different. So don't just randomly cold copy, carbon copy exactly what you do on YouTube on other outlets. You have to kind of tailor it for that specific social media platform. So again, the TubeBuddy tool to automatically upload to Facebook allows you to go in and tweak everything you want to tweak, allows you to even change the thumbnails and whatnot. So definitely use that tool if you're not. Then what I do is I actually go and I log into my Twitter account directly underneath the YouTube editor there, or video, whatever you want to call it, under Video Manager, and I compose the tweet. It used to be 140 characters, now I believe it's like 280. I don't know what Twitter's doing. But with all of that being said, I go and I make a little tweet about, here's the newest video on how to do X, and then I put in a very short URL. I normally use the Google URL shortener because it looks the best. You can use whichever one you want to use. You can use some of them out there that are really good would be tools like the Adler tool, things like that. So again, use whichever one you want to. Pretty links from WordPress if that's what you want to do. Again, it's all up to you. Then once I do that, I post the thumbnail and the video link over on my Pinterest account. You'd be very surprised. Over the years, I've looked at my analytics, and it's amazing how many people are browsing or perusing Pinterest and come across one of my tutorials. I'll give you a little behind the scenes look at this. I did a video about 2 or 3 years ago talking about how to use layers within Photoshop. So very basic, very simple tutorial. Well, I posted my thumbnail on Pinterest, and literally, this is no joke, I get hundreds of views per day from that pin on Pinterest. So don't overlook those maybe not so much talked about social platforms, because Pinterest is one of the ones out there. And then after I do that, if I think that I'm willing to take the fire, I will go to a subreddit, like the Photoshop subreddit, the YouTube subreddit, and I will post a link to the video title and description there to have it on that subreddit. So again, that's kind of the rule of thumb that I follow. Now, there are other things that I could be doing as far as like putting it out there. Like some people also put like a preview image up, on Instagram. Again, it's going to have to be an image tailored for Instagram, and then go ahead and say, link in bio, because you can't really put links in Instagram, so you got to kind of put the image there and then put link in bio. And then a lot of people do Snapchat, which is something that I wish I could do. I'm a little beyond that at this point because I probably should have started it way back when. But a lot of people do like, hey guys, got a new video coming out, check it re-air a older, very successful episode, like the Roberto Blake episode that I did, or the Tyrone Magnus episode that I did, where people seem to really like it, but maybe it's getting pushed down so far in the backlog or in the archives that I need to re-air it or re-upload it for a new episode. Here's what I think that looks like from the outside. Number one, it looks lazy. Number two, it looks like you're running out of content or ideas. And number three, it's just really not a good look for you and your channel to be reusing the content. Now, if you want to repurpose content or take an old tutorial like something I did or an old video and repurpose it and make it new and fresh again, then yes. Something that I will do is something very frequently that happened to me. YouTube has removed the YouTube video editor. Well, I did a very successful and popular video on how to use the YouTube video editor. Well, that video has since been deemed useless because YouTube has gotten rid of that. So now I'm going to re-upload another video giving people options for cheap to use video editors if they don't want to utilize like the more expensive tools. So yes, definitely you can do that, but do not upload the same video twice or three times just because you're out of stuff to do or you're trying to keep up with your schedule. So good question. Here's the deal. Next question comes from Tropical372. Says, I just created a brand new channel. How long is too long to wait before uploading the first video? Says, I'm ready to start uploading my videos for at least another 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not ready. Will this hurt the algorithm if my YouTube channel has been up for a long amount of time with 0 videos? I'm not sure. I haven't looked into that recently because I haven't started a new YouTube channel. I need to do that to kind of get my feet in that water. But honestly, it's probably better that you wait to start the channel. I know you want to lock your name down, but wait to start the channel and then upload the videos. I just find it more beneficial and it looks better. Like, let's say someone stumbles upon you. I know they probably won't, but let's say they do. You're going to lose that person forever, right? Because you have no videos, no branding, no nothing. So yeah, I would probably wait to create your YouTube channel. But again, I don't think it would have any effect as far as the algorithm. So if you want to lock your name down, go for it. I don't think there's any best practices there. Again, but the main thing here is once you start, don't stop. So you may want to wait a month or a month and a half to actually upload your first video. But once you upload your first video, go ahead and set your schedule and stick to it. So absolutely. Again, I think it's kind of, there's really no real answer, right or wrong, on that one. Next question comes in from Louise27. She says, how long does it take to make a stable income from YouTube? I've made a few dollars. I would like to know how much it would take, how long it would take me to make $10, $50, or even $100. Here's the issue. It's really going to depend on you and your channel. Again, in the type of content that you create. It can be somewhat like a roller coaster. The first few months you don't make anything. The next month you have a really popular video, you make $130, whatever. Now my income has become rather stable on YouTube just because of the type of content I create. I have a lot of long tail videos on evergreen content. So with that being said, yes, for me and my channel, I may have a consistent income and I may can say, okay, in a given month, I'm going to make between X dollars and Y dollars. And again, that's something that you'll have to get to once you become more of an established creator. But honestly, people worry too much about the money side of things. I know you want to make money, you want to do this for a living, it looks like fun. Again, it looks like people are not putting in work, they're just going, they're creating videos, having a good time. That's not how it is. For the people who actually make a living doing this, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment and a lot of time spent to get to the point to where you can make a consistent income. And again, what are you considering a stable amount, right? Like, are you an individual living with your parents right now saving money? Maybe $500 or $750 is okay. Or are you like me? Are you a married person who has a two-year-old daughter who needs to support his family, where you need, thousands of dollars to support yourself, right? So again, it depends on what you're considering stable, but again, it's going to vary based on the person. Just keep putting in the work and you will eventually get there. Next question coming in from Satiricals37, I believe that's his name. He says, how do you feel about using an app like Discord to keep fans engaged? I love it, actually. I think it's another tool, a new tool that's cropping up right now, that's arising. If you don't know what Discord is, it's kind of arised in the gaming community, but it's now being used for communities like YouTube. People add that as a perk on their Patreon page and say, hey, you'll have access to me on the private Discord channel if you sub to my channel, if you support me on Patreon. I love it. Something that I've been working on is incorporating that, possibly not with my Patreon, but possibly incorporating it just with my YouTube channel. You see what I'm saying? So basically what I'm going to do is if you support me on Patreon, you will get a behind-the-scenes look and personal invite to my Discord channel. So yes, absolutely. I believe that using Discord to keep fans engaged is another great way to keep you on their mind, right? So Discord, it's like they're almost texting you on a daily basis, and you're able to get behind-the-scenes look of a creator. And I mentioned that earlier in the episode. They want a behind-the-scenes look at you. They want to get their Josie says this. How do you feel about Twitch versus YouTube Live? Looking for your opinion here. I'm going to assume that you guys know what Twitch is as well. So yes, I do know what Twitch is. They're both live streaming platforms. You have YouTube Live, you have Twitch. Twitch has been in the game much longer than YouTube Live. So again, if you want to say which one's been doing it longer, which one probably knows the ropes better, definitely Twitch. I believe that if you're going to want to do it right, I think you probably need to learn how to do both of them at some point. But if we're focusing on just YouTube Live for a second, YouTube Live is getting better and better each and every month. So definitely don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are tools out there that let you stream to both Twitch and YouTube Live at the same time. If you just Google, multi-stream options or stream on Twitch and YouTube, Google that, and you'll find some free or inexpensive tools that will allow you to stream on both of them. So definitely don't put all of your eggs into one basket. You might want to vary it out and see which one works for you. And again, it may be all community-based, right? So if you're a gaming channel, Twitch may work more for you. A lot of YouTubers do this. They go and live stream on Twitch, but they put up a 40 or 50-second video on their YouTube channel. It's basically not a permanent video, but it's a video that goes out to all of their subscribers, and their subscriber feed, hopefully, right, cross their fingers, and it's basically letting people know, hey, I'm streaming on Twitch right now, click the link and go find me and view me and watch me over here. So you could do that or stream to both. It's really up to you, but I definitely wouldn't put all of my eggs into one basket. Next question, which is happens to be our last question for this month, says this is from nobody. They didn't put their name, but it says, should I post the YouTube link to Facebook or should I upload the video natively? This one I have a pretty strict answer to. I always upload the video natively. Number one, it's very easy with the previously mentioned TubeBuddy tool that allows you to automatically upload to Facebook. But if you put the link, yes, it'll show the thumbnail, but again, it'll take them from Facebook to YouTube. Some people recommend doing this for financial reasons. It gets people to your YouTube channel, which allows them to watch the ad. I'm actually part of the new Facebook monetization plan, so I'm getting monetized views over there. I don't get that many views on Facebook anyways for my channel, but if you do get a ton of views, maybe it is more beneficial for you just to post a link for a financial reason, but I think it looks better if it's uploaded natively to Facebook. And for me as a trainer, as a YouTube educator, it allows me to test the waters on Facebook and really play around with their video manager, their video editor, and things like that after the video is actually posted on their platform. So yeah, again, it's up to you, but I would try natively first, see how that works, and if you're losing a lot of money as far as ad revenue over a long amount of time, maybe then just post the link. So that is my answer to that. Guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode. I believe when you listen to this, I will be one day away from leaving for the mountains with my family. We are going to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, going to Dollywood, and going to be having a wonderful, wonderful time there. I hope you guys have a great week, and until next time, keep pressing forward.
You've been listening to the YouTube Creators Podcast. We want to thank you and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as support us on Patreon for great perks, such as having your YouTube channel featured on the show and a link on our website. Until next time, keep uploading those videos. Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub Podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello and welcome to episode 87 of the YouTube Creators Hub Podcast. Thank you again so much for everyone downloading this show each and every Wednesday. The YouTube Creators Hub show, if you are new, is a YouTube-centric podcast, online video-centric podcast, in hopes of helping you grow, monetize, and change the world with your online video content. Each and every week, I drop some value bombs related to online video, or I interview a fantastic content creator just like yourself. Like today, we're joined by the man behind Good Boy Guides over on YouTube, 60K subs, millions of views, another great content creator to chat with today in the video gaming space or niche. So we talk about tons of stuff unrelated to gaming, primarily all about YouTube, growing a YouTube channel, and the strategy he used to get to the point where he is today. Now, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the fine folks over at TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is the all Swiss Army knife tool I use to conquer YouTube, to easily navigate YouTube. If you haven't tried TubeBuddy, it's a free browser plugin. If you like it, and you will, you can upgrade to the paid version that gets you a ton of features like automatic upload to Facebook. You get the bulk editing tools like bulk revisions to your end cards, to your descriptions, to tags, things like that, and much, much more. Go over, click the link in the description, try out TubeBuddy. I promise you will not be disappointed. Guys, again, don't forget to go over to iTunes, hit that subscribe button, Stitcher Radio, Google Play. You can find us there as well. If you'd like to get a shout out on next week's episode, leave us a review over on iTunes. Let me know what you think of the show, and I will give you a shout out on the next week's podcast episode. Thank you guys again for all that you do. Thank you for making this community how-to in particular. Helps you to in-game counter-picking, item and skill building, meta updates, news, all kinds of fun stuff like that. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic. And you are located in the UK, correct? Obviously?
Well, haha. Obvious to you, and you could be. You'd be amazed how many people have no idea what country I'm from.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, right here on the YouTube About section, it says Country United Kingdom. So I'm not gonna say that I wouldn't have known, but it definitely gave me a good hint. And so did your accent.
Yeah, well that's it. I kind of expect my accent, with it being a literally most quintessentially English accent you can get, people should have a good idea where I'm from. But no, people think I'm from all kinds of countries, all Germany, Australia, America. People think I'm American sometimes. So you know, you never really know. But I'm glad you mentioned it.
I love it. Well, let's go ahead and dive into some questions. Let's talk about you, your YouTube channel. So the first thing I want to talk to you about today is this. How did you get started on YouTube? What made you dive into the online video platform that we all know and love today?
Okay, well, I think YouTube is pretty much in everybody's like psyche and their consciousness somewhere. You know, we've all heard of YouTube. We've all heard about people doing it, and we've all heard the stories of like, oh, PewDiePie did this, that, and the other. So I suppose we all kind of subconsciously have this thing of like, oh yeah, I'm aware of YouTube and I kind of want to do it. But I think going from, yeah, okay, YouTube is out there, maybe I can upload a video, to doing it consistently, it's kind of, well, for me anyway, it was a journey. And I think what triggered it all off is I went online, I was playing my favourite game, Dota 2, I was like, oh, this is really great. I was finding that I was having a really good time teaming up with other people and doing, you know, basic combos. And actually, originally, my channel was called Dota 2 Combo List, and that's what it was called up until, oh gosh, last sort of 6 months, I really the name changed to Good Boy Guides. And basically what I did was I wanted to find video content out there that would, you know, give me a long list of all these fun little combos, show me how to do them, and then you know, sort of I could use them in game and kill loads of people and have lots of fun. And that was kind of the thing. When I went searching online, I couldn't actually find anything I was looking for, nothing even close to what I wanted. And so I thought, okay, well, you know, what do I do about that? So I did some sort of wider research on the net and stuff, and after doing what was quite like a long, drawn-out, exhausting process, I eventually found a long list of combos that I could try out, some which are really fun, some which are really interesting. Sorry, a combo, just for your reference, is where you've got two heroes in the game, and if you synergize their abilities together at the same time, it makes it very, very easy, almost guaranteed, to kill people, and you can do it in all kinds of fun ways, and that obviously helps you win the games. So that's just to explain that a little bit. But basically, because I couldn't find it, and then I did all this research, and then was like, oh, okay, great, this is really helpful, and then I started trying it out, and then winning loads. I was like, well, this is too good not to share. So I literally uploaded such a bad video on reflection now. I mean, really, I look at it now and just think, what a load of garbage. But nonetheless, at the time, I was like, okay, this is fine. And I downloaded some free video editing software, free screen recording software, and then did my best to put together some. And even my audio, which sounds, you know, perfectly clear now, was actually really had like a loud like kind of noise in the background, and I sounded like I was hiding in my bathroom or something. You know, it just sounded ridiculous, to be honest. But that was my first video, and for some strange reason, which again this still mystifies me, I suppose this is why my fans are awesome, is people watched it. That was the first miracle, and people even liked it, commented on it, and said, hey man, you need more subscribers, it's really good, keep doing it. And that's pretty much what sort of started me off on my journey.
I love it. Yeah, we all go back and look at our older videos. I know I do as well, and I just cringe just a little bit, just looking and listening to those older videos, thinking, what was I doing back then? But you got to start somewhere, and again, going back and looking at your older videos can kind of show you the growth or the maturation of your YouTube channel. So that's awesome. Now, you obviously had this game that you loved, so you obviously had a passion, you had a niche and everything like that. So how long was it before you actually started taking it seriously, from like, oh, I'm just going to upload this information because it seems useful, it seems informative, but when did you take the step of, you know, now you've got, you know, upwards of almost 60K subscribers, you know, million of views, you know, what was that turning point for you that said, hey, this may be a little bigger than just a hobby?
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, well, to be honest, it's actually been a different series of like steps, as it were. And so the way I describe it is it wasn't sort of like, you know, sort of a road on Damascus where a light appeared from heaven and you know, completely knocked me over. It was more kind of like I had different moments where I was like, oh, okay, okay, I can do this, or okay, I can do this. And I think initially it literally was the idea of doing a series was the first thing. So I literally just uploaded a couple of videos to start off with, and then I realised that actually I could make this into a series of videos that I'll release, like I'll try and release once a week, and that kind of was one of the things I learned to do. The other thing that kind of helped the iterative process as well was getting help from friends and other fans and stuff who were like, oh, I watch your videos, they're actually quite good. Oh yeah, I can help you filming, because filming and getting footage was, at the time, I didn't have any improved methods, was a real nightmare. So getting that was kind of part of it. So I think part of it was learning how to get good footage that was relevant to what I was trying to say. It was actually one of the biggest things, because I would have loved to have done more videos back in the day, but I just didn't know how to do it, and it was taking me 10, 15 hours to a single video, so there's no way I could release multiple content. So I think learning to get like different things to help me do videos quicker was a big thing. But I think I just dabbled, a couple of videos a week, something like that. I never thought about doing one a day. It was that kind of thing. And then basically in 2014, in 2014 I finished being a student, which was kind of good and bad. It was great for time, bad for discipline. And I started working full time. And then during that time, I really started neglecting my channel and kind of just being like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care, but I really didn't like my job, particularly at the time. I was like, this sucks, really sucks. I don't like this. And then I kind of had like a sort of, it's not a midlife crisis, but I had that age crisis, which is, hold on a second here, what am I doing with my life? And so I went through like quite a long process and did some like life coaching stuff and some like, what are they called? Career stuff, career-related stuff, and that kind of jazz. And I went through, because I have lots of interests in lots of different things, I went through all the things that I really cared about, and then I started ranking them in terms of what was the biggest priority. And there's an old saying, people that are really successful stick at one thing and do it really, really well. So if you're going to be successful at anything, you have to literally just basically focus on that one thing and then just really run with it as far and as hard as you can, for as long as you can, and for as long as it's viable. Because if you don't do that, you'll always just kind of fudge it. You'll never actually really succeed. And so I was like, okay, fine. So if I just focus on one thing, what would be that one thing that I focus on in my life? And so, I went through this long list. And so, like, for example, I'm quite interested in politics. I'm quite interested in life coaching, career development, that kind of stuff. I'm quite into, lots of different things, basically. And then in the end, when I sort of broke it all down, I realised actually the big thing that I wanted to do with my life was creative media production, and was to do, if there was one job I could sort of die being happy doing, and if some content of all my life, what do I want to be remembered for? What would be my legacy? I thought actually making great videos, great entertainment that people enjoy, engage with, maybe change or inspired by, was actually probably the biggest thing in my mind. I was like, okay, fine, so that's what I want to do. And I was like, great. Well, in that case, if that's going to be it, then YouTube is calling. I need to get into YouTube. I need to run with it and go for it, because ultimately that is going to lead and is part of me achieving that kind of dream, as it were.
Well, I find that I love that. I love the stories of people, kind of how they've gotten into it and how they've kind of dove into it. And it's funny to me, you say all of that, and it seems to me you're passionate about the media creation side of things. You're passionate about video games, about Dota in particular. So I love that. Now, let me ask you this, a question more specific to your niche and the kind of the content you're creating. So you built a gaming channel. I'm a gamer myself. I love video games. I've dabbled in Dota, but unfortunately I'm really terrible at it. But so with
so is everybody.
It seems that way, right?
That's why my channel exists. That's literally why my
awesome.
channel exists.
So with all of that being said, I have a lot of video gamer kind of people or gamers who contact me and they're like, hey, I would like to be one of your clients. I'd like to work with you to improve my YouTube channel, to grow a gaming YouTube channel. That's great and all. But a lot of the times they ask me, they say, well, what are your opinions on building a channel around one game or one niche of games? Are you worried about that game dying off and then the possibilities of your channel becoming obsolete? So let me ask you that question. What are your thoughts about, well, what if you create, not even just about video games, but about one particular topic? Are you ever worried that if Dota dies off, or if it can, if it begins to fade, what will happen to your YouTube channel?
so it's kind of like broad content versus niche, and that's kind of the two differences. The problem with broad content is there's a lot of broad content out there. So what happens is, so let's say you just did like, you know, a montage of League of Legends, and then next week you do a montage of, you know, Hearthstone, and then the week after that you do one of Overwatch, you know, etc., etc. The problem with doing that is you've got so many other channels doing pretty much exactly the same thing, often many of them niche channels, even if they're not general generic channels. So what it means is you'll probably get 0 views, or you'll get very, very few limited views, and it's very, very hard to stand out from the crowd. You can stand out from the crowd, but then you have to make truly spectacular content, which most new creators are really going to struggle to do. Some do, you know, there's channels like Raunchy Animation, for example, just do spectacular videos that can cover pretty much any game they like, and they'll still get, you know, millions of views and you know, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. So you can do it, but that's generally very, very difficult. And so the nice advantage of a niche is when you just focus on one particular game, is it's way, way easier to get views. And also it's the whole issue of, why do people subscribe to your channel? You know, you have to be extremely, if you're like a general channel, you have to be extremely entertaining and have very, very good appeal immediately, and generally make people laugh. You know, that's what you've got to do. Whereas with a niche, when you focus on just one particular game, the niche element, people are like, okay, this guy does Dota. So for me, this guy does Dota videos. I like Dota. I'm going to keep playing Dota, so I'll subscribe. That makes sense. And then when I do more Dota-related content, I'll be a different content. People are like, cool, well, this makes sense to me. If I start doing videos, say, for example, on League of Legends or other games, the reception, the view count is all going to be not as good and possibly hostile, and I may even lose subscribers as a result. So that's kind of and by the way, there's two sides to this, so that's just part A. So that's the advantage of niche. And the thing is, particularly when you're starting off, and you have like no views, no loyalty, no subscribers, nothing, if you pick a good, popular game that lots of people are playing, then you're completely fine to try and play to that niche. I would say that's a good place to start. If you just try and start off doing general content when you have 0 subscribers, you might get away with it, you might be completely fine, but I'd kind of anticipate you'd struggle. Particularly also, my sort of way in was I did sort of semi-unique content that people couldn't really find on YouTube for that game. So I think that kind of helped me a little bit as well. So that's kind of one side. But then the other side is that I am completely and utterly vulnerable to a one-shot of, if Dota dies, I die. And that's the thing that is potentially catastrophic for me as a YouTuber. It's just, the thing is, if Dota dies, that's like Valve dying, you know, or like League of Legends, no one playing it anymore, or, you know, people, or the internet dying. You know, it's so deeply ingrained. And yes, Dota has issues because it's so well established, so popular, been used by so many people, and even today, despite being at like a 3-year low, it still has 12 million you know, monthly users on it. So I think I don't feel threatened by Dota going under per se. I'm not worried about it. It's the same thing if you're doing content for like League of Legends or like Overwatch, for example. I don't know if Overwatch will fizzle out, but MOBAs tend to have a very, very good track record of being, I don't want to say invincible, but very, very, very durable in ways that most other games struggle to compete. So yeah, I'm not amazingly worried. I think the actual biggest problem I would say playing to a niche is that if the game is currently having a lull, welcome to your view count and subscriber rate and everything else being cut in half, and that can be potentially quite damaging, and that's literally what I'm facing right now. Because Dota is at a 3-year low, my view count, which is normally well over 1 million views per month, has been cut in half, and then my subscriber rate, which was you know, on a bad day was 3,000 subscribers a month, has dropped to less than 1,000, and that is simply because Dota is not as popular right now because they haven't released a new patch. And then as soon as a new patch comes out, my subscriber rate will skyrocket up again, and my view count will double and triple and whatever. And so you're very vulnerable to lulls. And so it's quite hard for a game to like totally die. And well, I mean, you may have picked like a really obscure game that no one really plays, but if it's got like millions and millions and millions of monthly users, particularly the big, you know, you pick like the top 10 most popular games, it's very unlikely that game will die anytime soon. But you are vulnerable to lulls in that game, and if you are, then you can easily, if it's having like a rough patch or there's server issues or whatever, it will kill your view count and your earnings. And if you're a YouTuber full time, then it could very, very easily mean that you have to go to a food bank that month just to eat. So you know, there are vulnerabilities, and like I say, I mean, theoretically, a really, really big game like Dota could go down. I can't ever imagine that happening, but theoretically it could. And then if it did, you're new or trying to get established, or you're just trying to like just do YouTube as a full-time job, it's extremely difficult, especially for gaming-related content, to get to earn money out of YouTube to make a living out of it. So you get in the gaming arena, you get about $500 per million views. And I think it's in some countries like, oh yeah, $500 is a lot. Where in the UK, $500 is a joke. And the amount of time and effort, if I got 1 million views on any other network, any TV network, anything like that, I would get paid. I would quit my job right now, and I'd get paid, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of pounds for producing content like that. And but on YouTube, it's $500, which is okay. It's okay, and that's like an average. Some months it'll actually be a lot less, it'll be like $300, and it's just only.
So I think that's interesting. I didn't interrupt you there, but I know I'm more in the technology and tutorial and instructional space, and it's the ad revenue, again, we can't state exactly what it is. Like you said, it's more of an estimation, but the ad revenue for kind of what I do is much higher. I get a couple, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 million views per month on a good month, but it's definitely not drastically higher, but a good amount higher. So why do you think, what would be the point behind, why do you think the ad money for, is it just because it's so populated, it's so crowded in that specific space on YouTube?
No, it's an awful demographic. It's one of the worst. I literally appeal to one of the worst demographics there are on YouTube. So if I appealed to women in their 40s, I probably would have quit my job by now. I would be completely laughing my face off, or men in their 50s. So I knew a guy, for example, he did a car parts video, and he got like 5 times as much ad revenue. What he made in ad revenue was 5 times as much as what I did. I appeal to young men. That is hands down the worst demographic. Men are not a great market to sell to. If you can pick older, richer guys, then I would be fine. I do not appeal to those particularly. And the other thing as well is the younger you are, the worse you are as demographic. If I appeal to people in their 50s, I again would be completely fine. My demographics, I'm actually lucky. I've kind of got an older demographic, but my demographic is in their 20s mainly. Pretty much most of the people that are interested in my content are in their 20s and late teens, and are men. In terms of like pretty much the worst advertising audience you could think of, that is what I appeal to, and that's why my revenues are low, and that's why gaming channels in particular are going to really struggle, because you're going to get a lot of young guys who are into your stuff, really love it, but actually in terms of like selling stuff, it's awful.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there. So continue on. That's very interesting that it is so demographic based as far as like with ad revenue. And I know with me, it's more of a kind of 60-40 split between the male and female. And the majority of my audience comes in from the 14 range, whereas
this area is all up around 1,500 feet.
Male. So again, a lot of kind of
500 feet
beneath the weed stuff there, really deep stuff there. But that's stuff that creators have to know, right? Like they have to understand that in order to know, what type of ad revenue am I getting, it's good to know this kind of thing so you can talk to different sponsors and prospective people doing sponsored videos so that you know, hey, here's my demographic, here's what I can offer to you. So continue on talking about other ways that you monetize your channel.
Yeah. So I mentioned actually before, I had that in 2014, I had that epiphany, as it were, about what I want to do with my life. There was something else that also happened that I mentioned, I failed to mention before, but kind of also helped spur me on. I was contacted by my sponsor. I'll tell you who the sponsor is. It's Game Leap, and basically they contacted me and they said, look, we're a new platform, we're an education platform. We want to do a series of pro videos on how to get better at Dota, because most people who play it really struggle to play it, find it really, really difficult, very sharp learning curve. And we think a lot of people would be interested to pay to use our service, and as a result of paying to use our service, they will we'll give you a cut, and they'll get way better at the game. And so that was kind of what they said. And so they said, would you be interested in promoting us? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Now, because they were a startup, they were like, what can we offer you? I was like, well, I don't know, like, give me footage, maybe give me technical assistance, because I struggled to just release videos. But eventually, as they began to expand and grow, they said, well, look, I'll tell you what we'll do referral links. So everyone, release one of our videos on your channel once a week. Anyone that clicks on the links and then signs up to use Gamely, we will, of course, give you a cut of anyone that signs up that way, sponsor you. I was like, great. And so, like, initially I didn't actually get that many sign-ups, so I
so I only made, say, $50 or something like that from signups. But to be honest, the fact that I was doing this and still getting my YouTube advertising, this was $50 extra, basically for free, and I kind of on my channel was releasing videos. So I was like, great, well, this is pretty good. I can live with this. That's fine. But then, as my channel began to grow even more, and I even got more views, I learned how to release more interesting content that got a lot more views. Obviously, I have to fine tune it so it's not too clickbait, but clickbait enough for people to get involved. But once I sort of fine tuned it, was getting a good amount of view counts. I was also noticing that I was getting a huge number of signups. So I was able to match and exceed my YouTube advertising revenues, which was really cool, which was really, really exciting. And so that was really cool. And then that kind of put me on a journey of the hunt for sponsors, as it were. Because it worked out, was like, well, hold on a second here, I've got one sponsor here, but if I can find myself, because I'm all about, video education, training guides, that kind of stuff. If I can recruit myself, say, 5 or 6 other sponsors, I'd probably make about $3,000 or $4,000 a month. And if I did that, I could actually leave my job and just focus on being a YouTuber full time, and that'd be really exciting. And so, looking at what my channel was about, looking at what it appealed to, who liked it, who was my demographics, what I could intuitively sell, because that was kind of the big thing. Because if I try and sell, hair straighteners for women, no one's going to buy it for watching my channel. No one's going to be interested. But selling coaching lessons. So, for example, another one of my sponsors that I've recently got on board is Gamer Sensei. They have an entire coaching service for pretty much every game there is out there that's popular. And I was like, well, hey, I do guides and how people get better at the game. I think anybody that watches my channel would love coaching and would find it massively beneficial. And that's kind of what we have there. So finding sort of intuitive products, and then I'm looking at a deal with Amazon in the near future about advertising some of their electronic computer stuff at a discounted rate for my subscribers. And again, so it's by collectively accumulating pretty well-paying sponsors, you can, I would say, if you've got 6 consistent and ideally contractually obliged sponsors, then that will actually see you through to that I would say you would make from a gaming channel enough money to quit your job, whichever country in the world you are, unless you're in like some really, really rich country, like I don't know, Switzerland or something, maybe not there, but pretty much every other, even in like Europe, America, you could quit your job and just focus on YouTube and make pretty good level of money just from those sponsors.
So the last question I have for you is this: if you could give one piece of advice to emerging YouTubers, a YouTuber who's just getting started or someone wanting to grow their YouTube channel, what would that piece of advice be?
That is such a good question. Okay, so I'm going to actually say 2 pieces. So the first one is do your research. Do your research. Do you really need to do a channel for the thing that you want to do it for? Because I think a lot of people, the danger they can do is being the same as everybody else. And if you are the same as everybody else, you won't stand out. You'll pretty much never get anywhere. So checking like for content that you think people will be interested in, and the best way of checking is, are you interested in it? And then checking that it doesn't exist, or it doesn't really exist, and it's very, very difficult to come by. And if you are in that place, you're like, actually, do you know what? I can't find this. I think people would like it. I would like it, and I could probably do something like that. Then I think you are away. And if you can be distinctive and original, then that is, absolutely. And the more you can stand out, the better. And like going into fields where somebody of your personality or age, demographics, whatever, are different to the norm, it also really helps. So for example, a woman going into gaming is going to flourish versus just some other guy going into gaming because it's so male dominated. So that's kind of one thing. And then I'd say attitude wise is the foolhardy attitude of just never give up. And it takes ages to get YouTube right, and it takes ages to get anywhere. So in my first year, I barely got 1,000 subscribers, and that was like a big deal for me. That was like, oh wow, I can't believe how many subscribers. Got 1,000 subscribers. I feel amazing, and it was such a huge thing for me. But actually, that took nearly a year to do, and then it took me another 2 years to get to 10,000 subscribers. So you have to be really, really persistent. Now, yes, fine. In the last year or so, when I started really hitting YouTube a lot harder, I made a lot more progress. There is that kind of thing, but the key like psychological attitude is consistently work at it and basically don't quit. And after about 5-6 years, as a good example for a time frame, I'd say as like an average, you then start to see some progress.
I love that. People want everything now. That's the problem, is that where we live at in the time we live in now, everybody wants it now. And people have to understand you've got to put in the work. That's why so many people quit on YouTube. Well, I know that my audience can tell now why I brought you on as a guest. You're so knowledgeable. I am very sorry about my dog in the background right now, but we're just going to keep on it. We're going to keep on pushing through. If you hear the dog in the background, I apologize. Apparently someone's outside cutting grass and she's going nuts. But thank you so much for joining me. And if you would, will you let my audience know where they can connect with you online?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the main place is my YouTube channel, Good Boy Guides. Just type it in, Good Boy is one word, Guides, and then you'll find it there. I do.
You've been listening to the YouTube Creators Podcast. We want to thank you and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as support us on Patreon for great perks, such as having your YouTube channel featured on the show and a link on our website. Until next time, keep uploading those videos.
Spider. became this place for me to slip away to and take these pictures just for myself. Spending $4 a week on a photo booth as a teenager was a lot of money to me, so I would plan really elaborate photo shoots and bring in tons of costumes and props and backgrounds. I was just sort of like figuring out the timing and my angles and all of that. I would take the pictures with me in mind, but then would obsessively show them to like all of my friends and social group. Social media didn't exist back then. There wasn't like a way to like easily show pictures of yourself to people. Whenever we had like a boring moment in class or like before, I was pretty well known as like the photo booth girl. Yeah. The inconsistencies in photo booth pictures show me that the photo booth is alive in this way. It's not this sterile digital thing using binary code to operate. It's this unpredictable component. There are just so many factors that change how the photos are going to come out, that come down to like how old the paper is, if the paper was ever partially exposed, the temperature of the chemicals, how often the booth is used. That's a really big part of it too. All of those things together are sort of markers of that photo booth and really define it, you know, like even if all the components on the inside are the same as every other dip and dunk photo booth, they've all kind of had their own history that sort of marks their photos. You're not just hiring the photo booth to take your picture, you're paying for it for its interpretation of that moment too, when you choose to use it.
Can you describe where we are?
We are in this awesome bar in Montreal called North Star Pinball. They have a ton of vintage pinball machines, and then they also have an awesome color chemical photo booth.
And what model photo booth is this?
This is now kind of a Frankenstein model because it's got the new camera in it, but this was a 17P or a 17C. You can tell from up here. 17C. Okay.
Should we come up with a plan? How are we going to do this?
Real close. Are you afraid of making like stupid, silly faces and stuff like that? Okay, great. I just don't know. Let's do a like serious interview where I'll look like I'm being interviewed, and then we should do one monster face, whatever monster means to you. That can be the second photo on the strip. We can just look like we're melting. So monsters melting, and then the last one we'll do like a nice smiling photo. You should be able to see half of your face in the reflection and all of my face. So. Serious interview. I think it's really important to have your portrait taken. And a monster that creates this little moment of time of you in the world. And melting, it validates that you existed that day. And it's a marker for your life and where you were at that time. And so blind up now and smiling. The photo allows you to be remembered on by people. Good job. My fingers in the dispenser slot and that's a really great face. Very serious interview.
Well, that's what you asked for.
I did. Oh, interesting. This fabric reflected in a sort of weird way. The shine of it. Great job, team. When photo booths first came onto the market in the 1920s, they cost 25 cents, which is equivalent to $4 today. And previous to that, it was really, really expensive to have your portraits taken, and it was something that really only like middle and upper class people had available to them. A lot of marginalized populations, like gay and lesbian couples, were able to take their first photos together of them being intimate. No photo studio would allow them to take those kind of portraits, and you couldn't really develop a roll of film with those kind of pictures on it back then. I think it did a lot for people to be able to just take photos of themselves and not have the judgment of a photographer on the other side of the lens.
Can you just begin by explaining what you're...
Sure. I am holding a 3-inch ring binder that zips shut, and in it is probably about 2,000 to 3,000 photo booth pictures. professional photo because this one is a mugshot. So models 11A were originally used in police departments. This guy's got huge hair and he's in for something, but he also looks like everything will be fine.
Yeah, he looks good.
This woman is amazing. This is the only photo I have of her in my personal collection, but there are hundreds of pictures of her. Most of the people who are like more on top of collecting the vintage photos than me have nabbed up, and everyone's just trying to figure out who she is. She's always posing with different men, sometimes kissing them on the mouth, sometimes kissing them on the cheek, and it's always the same exact photo booth model in the background. They wonder if she like worked at this bar and like posed with men and pretended to be their girlfriends or whatever as like a service or something. There's like just hundreds of these pictures. Though if she had done that as employment, it wouldn't explain why all these photos were still collected together in the end. So she must have had copies of them, or someone else kept copies of them. So this photo is a gift to me. And yeah, so on the back, not on the actual back because that would be sacrilegious to write on it, but I wrote a note attached to the back saying rare photo of professional poser. I have found a lot of photo booth pictures almost always in the actual dispenser of the photo booth, like someone had to leave before they could take them out or didn't realize that they weren't instant and they had to wait 3 minutes, so they left before then. And sometimes I'll actually find them in the photo booth as if someone found them in the dispenser and felt they shouldn't leave them there, and then like took them out of the dispenser and like left them on the seat or on the floor for someone to come back for, I guess. 90% of the photo booth pictures I found in my life have been within 10 feet of a photo booth. You just have to like know to look for them. So you know when you see people like walking past a payphone and they like go and they put their like 2 fingers in that slot to see if there's change that's left behind. And I'm like that with photo booths, like I'm always taking a peek to see if there's anything left in the dispenser. By the end of my degree, I had kind of found that the most interesting pictures in my collection were not the highly posed backgrounds, costumes, and props photos, but they were actually the everyday, didn't look particularly good, but like the photos captured some genuine emotion from me. I started to do a lot of work with those pictures, and those photos were almost always really unflattering, but captured something really honest and at times very vulnerable. That's when I actually started to feel interested in the feeling of oversharing, I think, with people, and what happens when you become really vulnerable and sharing personal details. And I would say that I do that to this day, as in right now. Yeah. So in 2012, I met this man who runs this photo booth company, refurbishing vintage photo booths in Chicago. He offered me a job, and it was like, yeah, it took me 2 seconds to think about saying yes to it. It was like, it was photos in it, we were really in sync. Yeah, and it felt like when I was taking really good pictures in it, it kind of had that feeling of like, hey, yeah, like, way to go team, like, we did this together, you know, like, it wasn't a solo activity. The booth, I think of it as a major collaborator. I kind of look back on that period and I'm like sad now, or kind of jealous of how easy it was to be so pleased. I could be on top of the world because of a cool experiment we did with some photo booth chemicals on a new type of colored paper, and the photos came out in a reversed palette or whatever, and I would be like just so thrilled. So then that was like the coolest thing that happened to me that week. I have definitely been turned on by using photo booths, by the experience of using photo booths. It's not like I look at a photo booth and I'm instantly turned on. They're not inherently sexy to me. But the act of using a photo booth, especially when like the photos are good and everything is like syncing up nicely and it's working really well, can definitely be an arousing experience for me. When I moved to Montreal, I did actually date somebody for a while when I first moved here that my sister introduced me to. The first time I really noticed how photos interfered with my relationships with actual people was while having sex with him. And I started very consistently always seeing photo booths. Not the pictures, but the actual machines. Whenever it was like climaxing romantic stuff. And
Every time.
pretty consistently, maybe not every time, but it was a regular occurrence. Yeah. Yeah, I was just falling in love, so it all felt really good. There was nothing about it that felt weird. But I knew it must have also been weird because at that same time I felt compelled to look up people who fall in love with objects. I watched this documentary about objective sexuality, or like objectophiles, as something's called. This documentary was like horrifying. It did not paint these people in a good light, and I immediately was like, I'm not like them, I don't want to be one of them. But I also am reminded of this woman that I know in the photo booth community who, she's like, I'm not a hoarder, not like one of those hoarders on TV. It's like, oh, those shows are horrific, because I went to her house and it's like, oh wow, she's a hoarder. Like, so when I say I'm not an objective sexual, I also know, I know what I'm saying. Yeah. Anyway. person to leave the studio. And so I would lock everything up, and I would use a photo booth just by myself. How to put this in a way. I'm so sorry to my friends from Chicago who are like, oh god. Yeah, from my perception of what was happening, and from how it felt, I felt like I was having sex with a photo booth in the way it would make sense to have sex with an inanimate object. It wasn't about like being risque or shock value or anything. It was just about being in the photo booth. And it felt very intimate, and it felt amazing, and I felt very understood and like very well taken care of. Noticed, of course, that photo booths had been disappearing for quite a while, but I didn't really understand the extent that they were going to be gone relatively soon. I think as like a teenager who was obsessed with using photo booths, I had always just imagined that I would like always be able to take pictures this way and use photo booths with my kids, like that kind of thing. I finally learned in 2012 how short-lived the industry would be. In Canada, there's a handful of color photo booths that are left, but they'll be gone pretty soon, like within at most 6 months, probably closer to like 2 to 3. And those are pretty much just left in Montreal, as far as I know, because the company that runs all those photo booths is based here in Montreal. So there's about like 10 left in the metro systems. Now when I visit photo booths, the feeling is like there's so few left to visit that it's more like I'm visiting a sick friend, and I'm happy to get this much more time with them. I can still have that fun, playful experience with a photo booth, but a lot of the time it feels really like we're just hanging on to something before they go. The photo booths that are left are in pretty public spaces, which definitely changes how I use them. So it feels less about us. It's kind of like visiting a friend in their hospital room with a nurse in the room. And sometimes when I think about it, I still will get very bothered and cry. I'm a 30-year-old woman crying about these machines leaving. It's just so sad to me that at a certain point in my life, I'm never going to be able to continue this tradition of documenting my life this way. We are in the Place
Radiotopia, whose executive producer is Julie Shapiro. Radiotopia's founding sponsor is the Knight Foundation. Now, I know that there are lots of you out there with collections of photo booth photos, and I would love for you to share them with me. Just use the hashtag #LoveandRadio on Instagram or post it to our Facebook page. Thanks for listening.
So for the first one, we'll do like a similar game to what we did yesterday, where we called out animals. Okay. But we'll say any word, and then you just will react to whatever word it is.
North Country Trail.
So think of 2 words and keep them to yourself. Okay, I have 2 words. Do you have 2 words? Okay. So I'll say the first one. Who says the second one? I say third. You say fourth.
Great. I don't actually have my 2 words, but it's fine.
Partying.
Okay, Mars.
Oh. Roller coaster.
Ship.
Oh, sure. Roman Mars. That's the first time anyone has ever used Roman Mars in this Fun Booth game. I was going to say a different word altogether, but then I felt it was going to be too similar to my Roman Mars look, so I was going to say computer.
You're that Roman?
Yeah.
Goddamn computer.
Radiotopia from PRX.
It's going to turn on Fifth Street Extension, which is going
show about the natural world and how we use it. I'm Sam Evans Brown, and today we're talking about ducks. One duck. This is Taylor Quimby, and the duck we're talking about is his dad's. But I think this is also a story about what we're allowed to do with the property that we own and what we're not. Because when you buy a piece of undeveloped property, what you're really buying is a fantasy. You're buying this dream of what the property would look like once you put in lots of years of work. Yeah, like it's a blank canvas. But what a lot of people don't know is that homeowners don't have a blank canvas. There are lots of rules about what you can and can't do with your property. And this is a story about a guy, my dad. A guy whose dream put him on a collision course with what he thought was a heartless, faceless bureaucracy.
Okay, that's fresh.
Staining it with 3 coats of Ciccone stain so that it would just last a few years.
Taylor remembers when his dad announced he had purchased the property, he was sort of like, huh? Because it was just this piece of slopey, undeveloped shoreland full of bushes and mosquitoes. And then eventually, you know, the dock went up, and this big, beautiful deck, and the tea house. You know, why it's called a tea house? It's clearly a gazebo. I don't know anybody else in the world who calls it a tea house. That went up, and all of a sudden it was like, you could hang out there, you could bring your friends, you wanted to go and swim. You could stay overnight.
The wild part is a little north of here.
Just saying.
Definitely.
But the dream didn't last. 8 years after buying the property, Quimby started to make plans for a house, the next big step for creating his dream property. Filing for permits triggered an inspection from the Department of Environmental Services, also known as DES, the agency whose job is to protect New Hampshire's environment. So the DES inspector arrives and he sees a dock and a deck that were illegal. The deck was too close to the water, his dock was too big and supposed to be removable in the winter. In other words, for almost 10 years, Forrest Quimby had been unwittingly breaking the law.
Could be the Fish Commission.
The law is called the Shoreland Water Quality Protection Act, which is supposed to protect water quality and wildlife habitat along the shores of the state's lakes.
Okay, it is.
And DES wanted him to make it right.
Might be like
Tear down the dock. He was outraged. He was outraged that his contractor hadn't mentioned that maybe this dock was illegal, and he was outraged because he didn't think his dock was having any measurable environmental impact. So Forrest Quimby did what people do when they're trying to get out of doing things. He dragged his feet.
Pretty much when we talked to all of our friends that live on this lake about the original complaint, they said, I wouldn't do a darn thing. I would literally ignore them.
But Forrest isn't the type to completely flout authority, so he figured he would meet them halfway. Take down the dock, which he figured maybe had the most environmental impact, but leave up the deck.
Then kind of felt like, well, I'm not moving that tea house. I really felt like that's a beautiful structure down there. I'm not moving that tea house.
Forrest had spent $20,000 on this dream dock for his dream house. Long days in the heat and bugs staining it, and now they wanted him to get rid of it? No way was that going to happen. No way. But while you might not hear from Forrest Quimby, there is a reason for these laws.
What matters is the cumulative impact.
This is Judith Spang.
I'm Judith Spang. I've been in the state legislature for 19 years now.
She's been involved in crafting the rules that shoreland property owners live by that entire time.
So if you have little docks like that all around a small water body, and it matters. If you gradually get rid of the habitat acre by acre by acre where a certain wildlife species lives or nests or whatever, then cumulatively, eventually, you've wiped out that wildlife species.
The land that Forrest Quimby cleared to build his deck will not by itself ruin the lake's water quality or wipe out the wildlife that lived there. But enough clearing could. That said, Judith Spang does commiserate with the Quimbys of the world because she says the way these laws are enforced doesn't always feel fair.
The unfairness encourages people to give it a go. You know, maybe I won't get caught. Or if I'm caught, it's only a little bit of a fine. So it's worth giving it a go. There's way too much of that going on.
And that unfairness means people like Forrest Quimby often don't follow the laws, even after they've been caught. Quimby figured it took them 8 years to notice the dock. I'll just meet them halfway. He took down the dock, but left the deck and the tea house standing, and hoped he'd be able to slip back under the radar. And for a long time, he did.
Yeah, so it's funny, all that stuff is in here, so I found the part they were talking about, kind of just the time. And
we pulled Taylor's dad's file from the DES archive to look it over with me. It shows that for 5 more years, Forrest got to enjoy his deck with no issues until 2012.
it's like they had either chosen to ignore it or they just didn't have time for it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know what it is.
In 2012, 5 years after he was told to take down the deck, someone on the lake sent in an anonymous complaint after Forrest dumped what he says was about 20 buckets worth of sand from Home Depot around his shorefront, trying to make a nice sandy spot to walk into the water. Quimby will be the first to tell you that he now knows dumping sand into a lake isn't great for aquatic life, but he's not exactly contrite.
Yes, someone must have complained about me putting some buckets of sand down. But I know people that come in the middle of the night in a location where there's certainly no natural beach and put dump truck loads in.
So it's a matter of scale, is what you're saying.
A matter of scale. Right.
There is at least one person on the lake who thinks what Forrest Quimby did was on a big enough scale to rat him out. And there are many such people sprinkled around the state. Those who know the rules that exist to protect the environment and have sort of self-deputized themselves to get out there and help DES enforce them. And because DES does very little in the way of random spot checks to make sure nobody's breaking their rules, this is the number one way that environmental infractions get noticed. So when you get nabbed like this, it can seem very arbitrary, like everyone is breaking the rules, but they only noticed you. That's how Forrest Quimby feels.
I mean, we've had DES on our property multiple times, and it's fascinating. They remind me of like a horse when they're racing with blinders on, because they literally will walk on your property and pay no attention to a permanent dock over the water and other structures that are within vision and clearly non-compliant. And, you know, that always seemed frustrating to us.
Yeah, and you're pointing at your neighbor who's saying that's true. Forrest took Taylor and I for a ride on his boat so he could point out all of the other docks that he knows aren't legal. He's stoic as he does this, though you can tell he's a little indignant. It's kind of like he's rubbing salt in his own wounds.
You know, again, that's non-compliant. That's old, falling apart, non-compliant. Look at this. It's practically every dock.
Every time he looks out across the lake, Forrest Quimby sees neighbor after neighbor who got away with his crime. Over the course of a 20-minute boat ride, I don't know how many docks he pointed out. Many of them were clearly breaking the rules. Some were probably there before the rules were created, and so they're grandfathered in, but not all of them. And this is one of the funny things about living on the lake. Everyone is just eyeing everyone else all the time. So when people get to have something that you weren't allowed to have, every day when you look out across the lake, there it is, staring at you.
got a circular dock over the water, and then you have a screen house that looks maybe 7 or 8 feet from the water level. All constructed well after my dock was done.
How old is this?
How old is this? This probably dates into the 2000s.
I mean, was there something there before this? Something here before?
Nothing. It's beautiful and it's aesthetic, and you know, I look at that and I have absolutely no objections to it.
So the objection that you have is what?
Well, the objection that I have is that they clearly don't apply any of their laws equally and fairly.
That's what that thing is.
See, I don't know whether it's just made as a catch basin for the.
So that right up there is the old high wall where some coal was stripped. We're on an interesting little section of coal mine, North Country Trail. Look at all the invasive knotweed. Here is the horse trail.
Down about as low as it gets.
Yeah, I don't know how good a big trout would do if it was
Well,
too low.
it'd be these.
Raven. Here's a new North Country Trail reroute. Looks more like a trail last year. The trail went up on this logging road here.
Well, I don't know.
There's some stakes,
I
maybe.
think it went out around that
You think it went down there?
Yeah, I think. Where they planted it.
Wow. A nice artificial forest. Oh. There's the crows. Nah. Was one last time. Let's see. Shouldn't be too far. Going down off of the mountain toward White Oak Road. Degrees. 11:47, October 15th, 2017. Beautiful Clarion County North Country Trail. Okay. There's a little trail that crosses here. Okay, and it'll go around like this. This one goes sideways. Okay, I remember this. Yeah. Trail register box up here. Goes down into the woods. Deep dark woods. Now across the road, must be White Oak Road. Nice horse illumination structure. Discouraging whatever it does though. North Country Trail sign. That's Toby Creek. A lot of acid mine drainage and oil and gas type stuff from a long time ago. It's kind of a brownish orange creek. North Country Trail box. Brand new one. Huh. 70.7 North Country Trail. Okay, we'll drive 2 miles Sawmill Road to road walk 0.1 miles. I think it's just straight ahead. Yeah, it does look like there might have been one at one point. I'm off the drum. Huh. Yeah, it's all orange. Wow.
Spring there years ago.
Gas was before the what do you call it, the mining even. Yeah. This is where all the gas was. Texas before there was Texas or whatever, huh? With all the oil. I think it might have been more like 1900 or 8. You know, it was long after. I think it was like 50 years after Pennsylvania.
All this drilling was New York, western New York.
Yeah.
All western Pennsylvania.
Huh.
Eastern Ohio.
Whoa.
So that was enough to supply all the needs for the oil.
There were no cars back then in the first period. I don't know what they were using it for.
Just kerosene mainly.
What is it?
Lighting.
Lighting. Okay, so they run the gas lights. Yeah, I do remember, because before that it was whale oil, and that was totally not sustainable, like in the 1840s.
Very expensive.
Yeah, harpooning all those whales. That's terrible. It's dangerous. 2 of them guys out there, like Moby Dick or whatever, like tossing around on the boats. great.
Remember where the trail goes up there on this ridge? I think I should have been.
Oh. Let's see where it is. Okay, oh yeah, it comes up here. Okay, because there's like a little ridge. Huh. Here is somewhere. Okay. A bit further up this way. Maybe those are the people that should have been on our hike. Wait a minute, is that... Those are Clarion hikers, aren't they? Oh, that's the rest of the people. It's like, where did they go? Okay. We found the North Country Trail hikers. Leaves off the trees. It sounds like a truck is coming, but yeah, I can't really tell where. Whoa. Coming up to the old coal mining area where they planted pine trees for reclamation near Highland Road. This is one of my favorite sections of the North Country Trail in Clarion. Okay, there's the dump. Okay. There's one of those like that on that near Parker. Yeah, when you first get into the Armstrong County, that little wee bit. Armstrong County only has like 2 miles of trail and a lot of it's on the road.
Oh, you're going the wrong way. What time did you get there?
It was 5 to 10.
Oh, where did it go?
Oh no.
Huh?
I got that down at 5.
Back at the back?
No, I was at the back.
Right by there, quarter after.
Okay, I was late. I'm always late. Today it worked out. Yeah.
All the metal was cleaned up.
It's cleaned up?
Not this one.
No?
Some dumps.
Okay.
Some people came in here and with the trucks and hauled out all the metal for scrap.
They could make money on it, cleaning up the metal. Wow. Yeah, this is, I would imagine like northern Michigan would have areas like this. Are there a lot of trail areas that go through like areas like this? Sand, yeah, because I've been in the Muskegon sand dunes. Those things are like 300 feet tall. Nations, here we go.
Anyone can mine coal in Pennsylvania. Let's get cool, we can get much nicer here. Here's some mine giant stuff with this. It's full of all kind of barn. It's very awesome barn. It's not any aluminum or anything yet. I'm not here. And of course, so, North Country Trail sign here. Trailhead sign out road. Forward rides. I don't want to drive. I don't know how many spell HIGHLAND, but that's HIGHLAND. Meadow.
Her house is like there, right? Or wait, no, next one. Oh, you're talking pictures right now. Yeah, it's in the Christmas story.
I think so to 322.
Yeah.
shuttle people to the other end, or just have them take off 322.
Yeah. So where was it? It used to always be at that shelter, not Maple Shelter, but the other one.
This one right here, we've had picnics a couple times.
This is the one. What's this one called?
Highland.
Highland. Okay, this is the one. Yeah, when it was first built, there was a picnic here.
Yeah, we had the grand opening.
Yeah, lots of hot dogs and stuff. Yeah, it's good. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can drink anything. That's good. I mean, I just won't drink up like a wine or anything, but yeah, cider is good. Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll see you next month. Yeah. All right.
So it's no wonder that even after Forrest Quimby was caught with an illegal dock, there wasn't much in the way of follow-up to make sure he was actually taken down. The only way they were going to the dock was first built. A DES inspector comes out to his house and is like, "Hey, you never took down that dang tea house." This time, they weren't screwing around.
It wasn't until December 26, 2014, where the tenor of everything changed.
December 26th, the day after Christmas, the dead of winter. At this point, it's been 8 years since DES first cited Forrest Quimby for his illegal deck-dock combo. An official legal document shows up in his mailbox, delivered by certified mail, which laid out the whole history of his complaint and notified him that a lien had been attached to his deed. Basically, he wasn't going to be able to sell his property until he got rid of the deck. This is usually step one in enforcement actions like this. Step two is a big fat fine. All of a sudden, all that outrage and hoping to slip under the radar go out the window. The dream dock is in trouble.
And so we went out and we got a lawyer who pretty much said, the party's over, you might as well remove this before they do fine you. And we hauled this heavy pressure treated wood through 3 to 4 feet of snow to pile it 75 feet or more from we had this huge mountain of pressure treated wood that we couldn't take it out at the time, we just had to pile it up.
By the spring of this year, 17 years after it was built, Forrest Quimby's big, beautiful, illegal deck dock was no more. In its place, there's some bare ground and a humble seasonal dock, 6 feet wide and 30 feet out into the water. Over and over, what I've heard from recording stories that nobody's particularly happy with it. Do you think I'm characterizing that right?
I do. I do.
This again is Judith Spang, environmentalist and New Hampshire lawmaker who's been watching this situation for over a decade. She says it's a complicated question of how to make these laws work better, but thinks an easy first step would be educating homeowners about the law when they buy shoreland property before they get too deep into the dream.
If you're looking at a property and you nudge your wife and you say, "Hey, we take down some of these trees, we'll have a beautiful view, we'll put up a dock, then we can get our bass boat." You're buying a dream that is going to set you up for being in violation. And how far you get down the road in realizing that dream before you're caught, if you ever are, it is kind of a matter of chance.
And so on we go. Property owners either do or don't know the rules, they break them, maybe they're caught, maybe they aren't. The ones who get caught are grumpy, and people who see the ones who get